Welcome to the Family Office, planning for the people who matter most.
Okay, but here's the other point about that you made with regard to the Iran war. You said that your analogy was that, hey, I'm talking about no surgery, but then I find cancer and then I have to change based on the situation. Okay, but the situation has not changed. Has not changed. So
how do you know that? How do we know that?
the only argument you can make to justify going to the war is that something that they may have done. And
I have it. I have it in black and white for you.
Here's the point. Here's the point. Trump could have gone in and used a body that is close to Iran to go in and do regular searches on all of their nuclear facilities.
They weren't allowing it.
Okay, find a place or an entity that has the teeth and the leverage to be able to hold them accountable. Now, the fact is the reason why this is a hard situation is because other presidents have tried to find diplomatic ways. And so Trump said, okay, since we were able to go in against Venezuela, here's my belief, Chris, and I'll turn it back over to you. This is what I think happened. United States goes in, they get Maduro, quick lickety split, in and out, no problem. So he has a conversation with Bibi Netanyahu, and he's like, Netanyahu's like, hey, you see what happened to Maduro? I know we have intelligence where 40 of their people are going to be there. The Ayatollah is going to be there, and other top-ranking military officials. They're going to be here on this day at this time. So you don't have to worry about it. Once you cut the head off the snake, we have the oil. Now you can have a chokehold on China, and we can have a chokehold on Iran. We're your best allies. Everything's easy peasy, lemon squeezy. We're good. Oh, really? You think it could happen like that? How long do you think this would take? I'm thinking maybe a day to two, maybe 2 weeks max. You really believe that? Yeah. I've been studying Iran for the past 30 years. Nobody has better intelligence on them than we do. And then Trump said, you know what? Let's go for it. And that's where he made his mistake. And that's why I keep telling you that he's Netanyahu's lapdog. I don't even think Netanyahu really understood how powerful of a nation Iran is. And so he made a strategic error. And so when you talk about the fact that there was no choice, yes, there was, Chris. There was a choice for us, but we decided to be greedy, and we believed that we could go in there with no casualties, no boots on the ground. And he vastly underestimated. Now we're in a very, very tight situation because lastly, that strait is not open. And secondly, there are very few ships that are passing through there. And lastly, that the strait didn't need to be closed because had we not made any preemptive strikes, it'd still be open. Gas prices would be down in the 60s like they were before the war started, as opposed to you saying, oh, they're not over $100. Well, thank you, but we didn't need it to be near $95 because it was in the 60s before the war started.
Well, first of all, you're cooked no matter what oil prices are in the Strait because you're in California, so you're cooked no matter what. So you can't even rely on that. Secondly,
I'd rather pay $3 and $6 though, Chris.
Secondly, I think that when you look at the situation and you make those arguments, what you're saying, you're absolutely right. Every single thing you could have been right. But that's just so obvious. But what I don't think people realize, and what they don't think at, and they look at the other side of it is that this was all planned. This was all planned. And of course the market disruption and all of those things. And you're right. We didn't need to close the strait. We don't even need to do that. Who cares? And you're absolutely right. We're cutting off our competitors. So, and you know what? I'd rather us be greedy than them be greedy. So what, the rest of the world's not greedy, Len? Like we're the only greedy ones? We're the only greedy ones? China's not greedy. Russia's not greedy. Iran's not greedy. India's not greedy. And North Korea's not greedy. This always boils down.
Why don't we divorce our wives then?
So the thing is they're all greedy, right? So we went in there because we're greedy. We didn't go in there for any other reason other than the fact that we said, look, yes, let's create the issue or create the choke point that we need to make sure that we circumvent our enemies and China from manipulating the market and getting a stronghold over us. No one's not happy about that.
To achieve our objective.
But I think we already are achieving. I think we already are achieving our objective. The objective, I think, is already being met, and that's where I don't think to be done with it and be de-escalated this fast. Like, I don't know. I don't see why we don't see that happen. No, it's not done yet. It's absolutely not done yet.
That's what happens when we talk about this next Monday. There's going to be so much more news that's going to happen between now and the next time we get together. Just watch.
I'm sure there will be. But here's the reality behind it too, though, is that when you all that intelligence, we didn't even. There have been more people murdered in Chicago than there are people killed in the Iran war so far. Isn't that crazy? More people have been murdered. More Americans have murdered more Americans in the streets of Chicago, Illinois, than casualties created since we've been at war with Iran. That tells you something, right? About the current state of the supremacy of the United States. And here's furthermore too. If we wanted to turn Iran into a glass parking lot, we would have already done it. We could do it right now. So when Trump comes out there and literally says what he said, which, by the way, I don't think he should have said it, but we're at war. We're at war. The Ayatollah says, but the Ayatollah's been saying death to America and their children. It's the same thing.
When's the last time you heard him say that in a public statement? You haven't.
I don't know. How long has it been at war? Because he said it probably a couple days before he got killed by our military. So I just don't know how we don't look at, okay, here's the thing. And I know that we can argue this back and forth about it all day long, but if we wanted to end this today, we could. Checkmate, baby. Oh. But we're just being simple. Yep. Yes, we could. If we wanted to end this today, it would be checkmate. It would be checkmate. It would be checkmate so fast that just like it was checkmate for Venezuela.
His best interest, it's in his best interest to end this war so he doesn't get slaughtered.
No, that's the thing you don't see. That's the thing you don't see, Len. Yeah, see, that's the thing you don't see. You can't even believe see, that's the thing you don't see is that when everyone understands what's happening right now. Some people don't, most people don't. The media is confusing the crap out of everybody. And the saddest thing about all of this is that whether we agree with it or not, we should have solidarity as a country right now. And we don't. And that's the biggest thing. I guarantee you right now that if Iran launched a dirty bomb or a missile and it killed half of France or whoever, or it killed the Saudis or it killed whoever in that area, I guarantee you, Len, that the rest of the world would be yelling and screaming and trashing America because we didn't stop it or didn't catch it how did we not know or find out with all of the things that America is? But instead, Trump chose to be, like you said, preemptive, I call it proactive, and decided to throw roach baits in the Middle East before the roaches got too big. And everyone's mad about it. But no one is mad about the atrocities that Xi Jinping commits on a daily basis, or Vladimir Putin, or the Prime Minister of India, or whatever they call him, and all the other countries and leaders.
They're bigger.
What's that?
They're the ones. Why don't we go and attack them then? They're bigger.
That's not the way war is today in the world today. War is fought through resource reduction. So of course we're going to go after the two biggest places that are competitors that are undercutting us and cheating. See, Len, our competitors. I'm going to give you the answer. The real answer is this. We as Americans are told to abide by all these rules when the rest of the world doesn't have to. So when a guy like Trump, who's an American, congratulations, everybody, there's an American in the White House. When an American gets in the White House and an American does what Americans do, which is no BS, I'm taking my stuff back. We said, all right, cool. Then we're just going to cut off the two biggest places that you get your resources from. Number one was Venezuela. That's the easy one because it's in our hemisphere. You're not even coming near our hemisphere anymore. Chop, chop, suey. Number two, we have to deal with Iran, which is where you get the rest of your oil. And it's a little bit more delicate of a situation because it's not in our hemisphere. And there's other people there that we kind of like, which is the Middle Eastern countries. And they kind of like us and they really want to make a deal, but they don't know because they're too confused because they don't want to leave the monarchs of the rest of the world, which is NATO. So they get topic this. So the best way for us to do it is Israel comes in, has some intelligence, they're a state-sponsored terrorism. Let's just throw a little dust over there and create an issue for the rest of the world. Doesn't create an issue for us. We feel a blip. And furthermore, to close it up, Len, I know you think this is an issue, but the market is the predictor of the future, and the market says that oil is going down because the price of oil is going down. So as of right now, the market is saying that it sees a favorable outcome because as the Strait of Hormuz still remains to be slow, if it was the contrary of where the future was going, it would still be at 105, 110 a barrel, and it's not. So the market says otherwise. But I know we went long on this topic today. It definitely was very fun. But next week, we're going to talk about some pretty cool stuff too. But Len, go ahead. I know you want to come back in on this here.
Oh, okay. So first of all, I asked a very specific question, which was Russia and China, according to your argument, are some of the two worst actors as it relates to terrorist regimes and bad actors amongst the people within their borders. And my question was, why don't we attack them? And you never answered that question because
I did.
No, you did not. Here's the real answer. The real answer is because if we go in and attack China, they are an existential threat because they have nuclear weaponry, and so does Russia. And that war could be escalated to a worldwide obliteration. And so therefore, Iran's an easier target because they don't have nuclear war. They don't have nuclear weaponry. That's the reason why we don't go and attack North Korea for the atrocities they impose and inflict on their people because they have a nuclear weapon. And that's been my point from the very beginning, is that's why if I'm Iran, bro, I'm getting nuclear weaponry as soon as I can because it's in our best interest to make sure that we protect ourselves from the United States and from Israel. So
Okay.
I'm not saying, hold on. I'm not saying that from my perspective as an American that I agree with them and that's right. But Chris, you have to at least approach this through a logical lens because everybody, you made this point earlier, we all operate in our own best interest. So if I'm Iran, I'm not stopping at trying to enrich my uranium. And if I'm the United States, I'm not trying to allow Iran to enrich their uranium. So therein lies a rub. And so the United States, if we have the ability to impose our will upon them, to stop them from getting a nuclear weapon, then I believe that we're within our rights to go and do that. But this is the problem. The problem is that when you go in without all of the information and you go in under false pretenses, because what Trump said back in June was that their nuclear capability was obliterated, quote unquote. Those are his words. Now, the last point that you brought up was about oil. Now, Chris, you and I, we both know and understand commodities and the rise and fall. And anytime any commodity has volatility, there's opportunity to make money on the way up and there's opportunity to make money on the way down. And so the words that come out of Trump's mouth makes those numbers go up and makes those numbers go down. So if I'm trading futures or if I'm trading derivatives or if I'm trading, shorts, I'm going to make moves accordingly because I can make money on the upsides and the downsides. That's a different game. What we're talking about here on the larger level is oil and the world's reliance on it, because not only do we have oil, we have LNG, so liquid natural gas, and we have fertilizer. So there are people who are going to end up spending exponentially more on their food and on their heating and on their energy costs that that was caused and created by a move from the United States. And these are some of the countries that are supposed to be our NATO allies. So when we come back next week, we're going to talk about NATO, man. I really want to do a deep dive on that.
I can't wait to talk about NATO. And here's my last point. Okay, Iran violated the nuclear treaty set up by Obama. That's the grounds for us to go in and bomb the shit out of them. No questions asked. Sorry, you violated your treaty, which was the nuclear treaty. You said you weren't going to do this, and they violated it. And they did not allow the UN inspectors in, Len. So therefore, that's the black and white proof there. What else do you want? What else do you want?
Okay. Dude.
What else do you want? What else do you want?
Okay, first of all,
because I'm sitting here and I'm going, wait a minute, I can't even believe you're gonna pile this on me right now.
Man, he did this to that agreement. He's like, man, that agreement sucks. It's so
it does
as a justification to that they violated the treaty that Trump tore up, so we're going to use that as a justification.
Well, yeah, they violated it and then he tore it up. Hey, you know who also has a history of tearing stuff up in the chamber? Nancy Pelosi. Len, I can't believe you had to dump all that stuff on me at the end there about all of those different things there. But here's what I could say.
You started it. You started it with the guy in California, man. I didn't know you were going to talk about that. So I just had to stick it to you.
It's all good. It's all good. But yes, we will be talking about NATO next week because that is a very big topic of conversation. And I think that plays in a lot about the long strategies being played here. And I hope that some big developments happen because the fact that there is still a ceasefire, we'll leave it at that, loose, weak ceasefire, somewhat common. But we will go into that, and we'll go into a couple of things, which I think also is important, Len, that we didn't get a chance to talk on today that I think I'm passionate about as well, is the mental health crisis and the social anxiety crisis today. And did you know that by 2030, 40% of women in their 30s and 40s will be childless? It's the highest it's ever been. So leading into social anxiety, dating rules, things like that. We'll talk about that next. Yeah. If you like this type of content, again, we're not experts. We don't sit here and research. We're not pundits. We don't have gotchas. We just are debating the information as we get it through the resources that are in our lives. And if you like that, come and follow us and journey along with us as we debate here openly and spiritedly. So, Len, outside of that, anything else you have for us today before we depart and we'll get on to the next week?
Yes. So we live right now in a world that's getting increasingly divided. And so what I would really want to impress upon you is the importance of finding somebody that you like and respect, that you disagree with, maybe about religion, maybe about politics, maybe about both, and be willing to sit down and have lengthy conversations that's respectful so we can begin to start to be examples around the world and around the country in particular about having conversations with people in which we disagree. And so within that vein, Chris and I set up this platform so you can see in real time people who vehemently disagree with each other, but we can still be civil about it. We can banter back and forth, but we don't use it as a way to think ill about the other person. Chris has love for me. I have love for Chris. We disagree with things. We can agree to disagree, but we can still have lively discourse. So find some ways to do that with each other. Until next time, we appreciate everything in terms of liking and subscribing, like Chris said. And please feel free to leave some comments and we'll go from there. Take care, Chris. It's always nice talking to you, man.
Peace out, bro.
Conversation has given you clarity on your next steps. Please share this episode with someone who's walking the same path. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you won't miss future episodes. And remember, planning ahead isn't just prudent, it's an act of care. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time on the Family Office.